What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, this one seems pretty self-explanatory. It's going to be about the termination attempts of one of the most popular SCPs out to date, which is SCP-682, the indestructible creature. So, there's nothing more to say about it. That's what we're going to be diving deep in. I'm just going to hope to see more not assassination attempts. I don't know why I try to say assassination. Termination attempts with other SCPs. I'll be more fond of seeing other SCPs going against this SCP compared to the SCP Foundation trying to do their own thing or their own experiments. I feel like that's kind of bland. It would be a lot cooler to see different abilities on display with other SCPs going toe-to-toe with 682. So with that all out of the way, if you guys enjoy my animation reactions and you guys like to see more and you do enjoy this one, please smash that like button and also smash the sub button. Join the family. I make content like this daily for you guys so you always get your fix of SCP heat. And I'm telling you guys, you won't want to miss an upload. And to make that possible, hit that bell so you can stay plugged with each and every upload when it drops. And without any further ado, I have nothing left to say. Let's get this show started. Alrighty, termination attempts. SCP-682. Let's go.
Here we go again. It's time to return to the acid-filled containment chamber of SCP-682.
Ah shit, here we go again.
Commonly known as the Hard-to-Destroy Reptile. We've spoken about him and the ways the SCP Foundation has attempted to destroy him in a previous video. But as we said back then...
Oh. So this is a part 2. Huh. I had no idea. Well, anyway, we already started, so we're going to keep it going.
We really only scratched the surface of the huge number of insane ways the Foundation has tried to wipe this cranky lizard off the face of the Earth. Today, we're filling in some of the cracks and taking a look at the secret test logs detailing the Foundation's unsuccessful quest to finally destroy SCP-682.
Okay, let's
Some
go.
of these may surprise you, and if you're a real SCP expert, you may just recognize some familiar faces we meet along the way.
Yo, so that means probably other SCPs. Okay, this is cool. And it seems like the first part was like the more rudimentary way to do, termination attempts. And this is like the secret attempt. So I feel like this is a juicier part, out of the two. So let's go.
Esteemed Foundation researcher Dr. Alto Clef, famed for his somewhat unconventional
Dr. Clef
personality, entered the test chamber to see if he could intimidate the beast to death. This resulted in a long staring contest
I remember
between
this one.
Dr. Clef and 682. Towards the end of the competition, Dr. Clef began to lose his nerve. He tried to leave the room, only to find that the door was locked, causing him to swear loudly. Dr. Clef, who always tries to find the most direct solution to his problems, blew up the door with plastic explosives
Oh my God.
and ran off. The result? Test failed.
They went about that a different way, from diving deep into the non-animation reaction of Dr. Clef. That situation differed. If you guys didn't know that, check out that reaction. But yeah, it didn't go exactly the way they depicted it to be, but we'll keep going.
Next came SCP-662, a silver handbell that summons the supernaturally helpful butler, Mr. Deeds.
Okay.
Mr. Deeds was summoned. Foundation researchers asked him if he could kill SCP-682. Deeds politely explained that he wouldn't be capable of killing 682. It's just too strong.
Oh?
When he asked if he could at least incapacitate
He's only a
682,
butler.
he replied that the best way to do this would be to poison himself and allow 682 to eat his body. But this, he reminded, would only be a temporary problem for the lizard.
And that would mean poison would work for the lizard. Like, I mean, if that could work, why don't you just, make him digest poison? Why would you... There's so many extra steps you guys don't need to take, but let's just keep it going.
Another test failed. The Foundation brought in SCP-689, a terrifying soapstone statue of a sitting skeleton that can kill you if you see it, and then stop paying attention to it.
You died.
682 first observed the statue, and then the Foundation turned off the lights. To turn them back on, SCP-682 appeared to be dead in a puddle of gray and black.
Oh shit.
D-Class personnel were sent in to confirm that 682 was actually dead, but it instead got up and killed them. Researchers theorized that 682's definition of life...
Was he playing possum? Or did he just wake up at that second? Yo, what? Okay. That experiment was more interesting.
Is not quite the same as ours, rendering 689's death-related powers ineffective. Test failed yet again.
Well, it seemed like it died and it came back to life. If you're being honest here, we'll just keep it going.
DP-807 was next up to bat. This is an anomalous salmon-colored ceramic dinner plate with the words "Last Chance Diner" printed on the edges in white. Any food placed on it becomes irresistible by any definition, but when the food is consumed, it causes immediate cardiac arrest due to the sudden clogging of arteries with fat. Researchers made a meal known as the 682 Special. 10 kilograms of rotten meat and sharpened bone splinters, 10 liters of rancid mayonnaise, 1 liter of potassium cyanide, and 1 kilogram of morphine hydrochloride.
Yeah, they definitely trying to kill him with that mayo, bro. I would have been out. You guys should have just stopped with the mayo. Holy shit.
Combined into a solid mass and transmuted by 807. When 682 consumed this disgusting meal, it appeared to collapse. However, when D-Class personnel were sent in again to see whether 682 was truly out for the count, multiple holes opened up in its body. These holes fired out high-pressure jets of blood, killing the nearby D-Classes and destroying the containment cell.
What's he doing now on command?
Was fine afterwards. Another test failed. To kill 682, it seemed that the Foundation really needed to have God on their side.
No, it seems like... Okay. It doesn't seem like he is taking this and he's getting unaffected. It seems like he's actually dying or he's getting incapacitated and then he's coming back to life. He's getting revived somehow. Because this seems kind of funky.
So they tried to recruit SCP-343, also known as God, to help them destroy the beast. However, when he entered the containment chamber, he somehow couldn't even see the beast. When researchers asked him whether he could kill 682, God replied, "He's not one of mine. Deal with him yourself." Test failed before it even began.
Bro. He has ties with the Scarlet King. Oh my goodness. Not one of his? Not one of his? Like, yo. That's basically telling us that he's, like, evil. Come on now.
Next, the Foundation recruited SCP-524. A small white rabbit that can eat literally anything, including itself, without being harmed.
What?
The rabbit was released into SCP-682's chamber, at which point it approached 682 and began to eat one of its legs.
Yo!
682 roared in pain and scuttled up the wall, out of 524's reach, where it remained for a number of hours. At this point, SCP-524 seemed to become bored and began eating its way out of containment through a nearby wall.
Oh! That could have worked! Okay, well, yeah, that could have worked. How else would you revive out of nothing? If, say, like, this rabbit eats him completely, what's really going to happen to him? Is he going to explode from the rabbit's stomach and become 100% okay? Like, yo, come on now. Man, I would have tried that test again and not make this dude leave. But he could eat through anything, the rabbit, so that would be hard to contain him. And with that point, how did they contain this SCP? That's a question for another video. Let's just keep it going.
Failed. Maybe the luck of the Irish was what the Foundation needed to finally put this monster to rest. They recruited SCP-1933, a fat man dressed as Santa Claus, whose bodily fluids consist entirely of the alcoholic beverage known as Irish cream.
Ew.
If enough of this man's self-produced Irish cream is fed to something, they'll find that all of their bodily fluids have become Irish cream too, killing them.
It would have been cooler if it was an eggnog. Honestly, that's just my own opinion. Eggnog, Christmas, Irish cream, I don't know.
The Foundation fed large quantities of this Irish cream to SCP-682, and it actually had an effect.
Why is he
causing 682 to appear intoxicated, which was a promising sign.
What the heck?
However, it soon vomited out a massive
Is he playing karaoke?
SCP-1933 bodily fluids,
Baby Shark?
turning the walls of its cell into Irish cream and allowing it to escape and wreak havoc.
Wow.
Test failed. Big time. The Foundation recruited the help of SCP-2337, an intelligent corncrake known as Dr. Spanka.
Recruited?
With a voice so loud it can quite literally talk its victims to death if it speaks to them for an extended period of time.
Oh, God.
It was sent into SCP-682's chamber to attempt to destroy the beast, but 682 just told it to leave, and the talkative bird obliged by blowing away one of the chamber walls with a yell. allowing SCP-682 to breach containment again.
Wow.
Terrible job, Dr. Spanko.
Oh my
Test
god.
failed.
So that bird's a doctor? Anyway, let's keep it pushing.
The Foundation researchers were starting to get a little
And
frustrated
they've been through
with
it.
their lack of progress, which you can no doubt sympathize with. And they even pitched the possibility of sending SCP-682 into an alternate dimension, where perhaps it would enter into a stalemate against its alternate self.
Oh.
But this pitch was shot down by the O5 Council on the grounds that it was way too risky.
Yeah, for real.
Back to the drawing board. By which we mean they literally transformed 682's skin into a kind of drawing board.
What?
SCP-2521 is an anomaly that manifests anytime information about it is recorded.
Oh, I remember that
Immediately
SCP.
grabs the source of the information, wrapping it in its tendrils and taking it away with it. The Foundation sought to take advantage of this by using a laser cutter to cut this anomalous information into SCP-682's side.
Interesting.
However, this didn't have the results they were hoping for. SCP-2521 did turn up to take the information, but it only took the skin on which the information was carved. 682 survived and quickly grew back its skin. Test failed.
Oh my
Again.
god. Wow, that's so
Researchers suggested
cheap.
Tracking down SCP-162.
Then why doesn't he do that with all the other victims? Why does he actually take the victims then? That's such a cop-out for that SCP, because in the past, animations I reacted to of that SCP, if a person has their information, file, letter, he'll take the whole person. It's not even written on the human, but he takes the human away, though. So why did it just take to the skin of this SCP? Unless it was impossible for him to take the whole SCP completely. But, I mean, that just seems like a cop-out.
9. An obscenely massive underwater creature known as the Leviathan, and feeding 682 to the beast. However, this idea was also immediately shot down by the O5 Council. If 682 did what it did best, which was surviving attacks and adding them to its own arsenal,
Oh god.
it might grow to the size of SCP-169, which would likely trigger an XK class end-of-the-world scenario.
Yeah, for real.
It simply was not worth the risk.
Holy
Test
shit.
failed before it even started. The
Dang.
Foundation released 2 specimens of SCP-989
Okay, we dive deep into this
682's
one.
Test chamber. These voice-imitating, amnesia-inducing monsters have caused huge damage to human targets.
Don't think it'll do
So
anything
it was
to the
hoped that they may
SCP,
be able
though.
to do something to 682.
No.
But this hope turned out to be misplaced.
Yeah.
Both specimens seemed extremely distressed by 682's presence, and refused to engage at all.
See, I figured. I mean, they would be too afraid to even go in the room. Come on now. That was a waste of time. Bring them back into the little cubbies.
682 did not share the same apprehension about attacking. It
Nope.
charged in and brutally killed both before devouring their corpses.
Not
Test
surprised.
failed. In a very well-documented case,
Uh-oh.
the adorable
Here we go.
SCP-999 was introduced into 682's test chamber.
MVP.
The unassailable good vibes provided by 999,
Good vibes.
as well as an intense tickle fight, did actually lead to the temporary incapacitation of SCP-682.
We remember that.
However, the otherwise wholesome incident ended in tragedy, when 682 adapted to the good vibes and was able to release a kind of violent laughter wave. This incapacitated much of the staff, and allowed 682 to breach containment and go on another killing spree.
Whoa, I didn't know that. What the heck? Wow.
Before being recontained. Test, once again,
Jeez.
failed. The next
He
test
adapted
involved
to it?
SCP-294, an anomalous coffee machine that can produce any liquid
Oh my
typed into
god.
its keypad.
The
Foundation
meme
researchers
SCP.
requested SCP-682 Killer from the machine.
What? You
and
could
were
do that?
astounded by the results.
I still need to react to this SCP. Because I don't think... I definitely didn't react to the animation of this one yet. But hopefully it doesn't ruin anything.
During tests on the liquid with SCP-682 tissue samples, the liquid was surprisingly effective and caused the 682 tissue to decay and crumple. Tests on the living creature were similarly promising. The acid in 682's tank was temporarily lowered, and 1 liter of SCP-682 Killer was poured onto the reptile's head, causing that portion of its flesh to immediately decay. When the acid was returned, the same portion that had the liquid poured on it dissolved instantly. Test, well, not quite successful, but promising, and requiring further research. Foundation scientists believe that if they could one day get a large enough quantity of this liquid,
just dump it in.
they might have a viable option.
Yeah.
But until then, The tests march on.
Well, out of all the tests, I thought this one would be like the joke, but with the coffee machine, it looks pretty basic. However, I mean, I don't know what powers it has. Seems like this was able to decay it. Why don't they just get more from the coffee machine? I don't know if there's a limit of how much you could order, how much you could punch in, but what if you could just keep on punching it in until you fill up a big jug, and then pour the SCP in it, and then bye bye SCP-682. Seems pretty easy, right? But we shall see.
For another experiment, they introduced SCP-055 into the containment chamber of SCP-682.
Uh-oh.
SCP-055, also known as the Self-Keeping Secret, is a mysterious anomaly that can only be described by what it isn't. For example, we know that SCP-055 is not round, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Now, however, we know something else about SCP-055.
That's it.
It can't kill SCP-682. Test failed.
Okay.
But at least we know twice as much about SCP-055 as we did before. Next came SCP-082, better known as Fernand the Cannibal. Fernand was first presented a piece of flesh from 682, but rather than eating it,
that's his flesh?
he inspected it and began to express joy that his friend still lived. When introduced into 682's testing chamber, Fernand attempted to subdue the lizard and use it as his steed. 682 expressed an intense hatred for both Fernand and the idea of being ridden like a pony.
What the hell? So it seems like a one-sided relationship. Fernand seems like he's friends with SCP-682, but SCP-682 doesn't care about Fernand, whatever his name is. What the heck?
And the two of them engaged in combat. Mobile task forces were eventually brought in to subdue both subjects.
Is he human,
in a
Fernand?
brief interview, both hinted that they shared history prior to containment, but 682 was reluctant to talk about it further. Test entertaining, but still a failure.
Interesting.
Researchers were becoming extremely frustrated with SCP-682's unwillingness to die, so they called in an SCP who responded to reason much better. SCP-049, the Plague Doctor. This sinister surgeon can kill
bad
with a
boy.
touch, and the Foundation hoped that his abilities would extend to 682.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you touching me,
However,
idiot?
the result was a dud. The Plague Doctor did touch 682, but it experienced no adverse effects and eventually swiped at the Doctor. Upon leaving, 049 reported feeling emotionally disturbed by his encounter with SCP-682.
What?
Yep, you guessed it. Test failed.
Wow.
If it gives you any indication of just how desperate the researchers were at this point, Dr. Graham pondered whether introducing 682 to a human with just as pessimistic and misanthropic feelings as itself would somehow pacify it. They sent in a particularly nasty D-Class, and the two spoke.
I mean, they tried everything else.
Fascinatingly, 682 didn't attempt to harm this D-Class. They just shared their profane and bleak sentiments about the human race with one another. However, some of 682's opinions were a little too spicy for this D-Class. After listening to the reptile speak for 20 minutes, the D-Class fell into a catatonic state from the sheer depression of it all. He died not long after.
Yep.
1 week.
This SCP got dudes dying from depression. Can't make this shit up.
Researchers suggested perhaps the worst idea of all, letting SCP-682 out into the wild.
Yeah.
Not even really to terminate it, just to see what it does. The scientists figured there would be some merit in analyzing the creature's behavior. This idea was submitted anonymously, of course.
Okay.
It seems even the most sadistic of researchers know better than to put their name on an idea like that.
Dumb.
As you can probably guess, this request was shot down by the O5 Council. The note attached to the request by one of its members summed it up best. I'll tell you what it will do. It'll go out for a nice stroll, murder a few innocent people, go fishing, slaughter a few more innocent people, start up a tech company, eat a few more innocent
What
people,
the hell?
go on a vacation to Florida, dismember a few more innocent people.
Oh my god.
The
The shades.
This. You can personally enter 682's containment chamber to analyze him yourself.
Goofy butt.
This has been far from an exhaustive account of all the different ways the SCP Foundation has tried to terminate SCP-682.
Oh
But
god.
it shouldn't be surprising that all of their ideas have either been failures or were too risky to even try. Sadly for the SCP Foundation and the human race, it's likely we'll be dealing with SCP-682 for a long time to come. But do you have an idea for how you think 682 could finally be killed?
Yeah.
Something that even the Foundation hasn't thought of to try?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and I believe it already happened. Send O Death. I mean, He can't survive that. He cannot survive that. And I don't think he did survive that. Everyone died, even him included. That and possibly the coffee machine, which is literally a joke. I thought it was a joke sending a coffee machine in, but it became part of his body. And if you do that all at once, how could he, come back to life from that? He'd be gone. And yeah, there's a lot of other ways too, but it was obvious that it wasn't going to happen. I was surprised with the results from the Plague Doctor, how it didn't work whatsoever. Like there was like no effect at all. I thought there would be like an effect, and then something stopped it, and he like came back to life or whatever. Like all the other trials so far, most of them, but it didn't seem like that was the case. So don't know why that didn't happen, and he ended up feeling depressed after. It was kind of weird. But anyway, that is the reaction. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, like always. And also, if you guys made it to the end and you guys did enjoy this reaction, please smash that like button. It will mean the world, and I hope the channel grow. And with that all out the way, unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one. With